Episode 9.
Believe it or not.
Right? Okay. Hello, Laura J. here with Michael Seegers for episode 9 of the Michael and Laura Show. So today, Michael will be going into the electronic belt that stores all of your unjustified negative karma. He has better words for it because he's been on the path longer. So I'm just going to turn it over to the master.
Thank you, Laura. We'll start with screen share. We're looking here at the kettle drum of energies below the electronic belt. I think the person who created this perhaps didn't use the best word when he said below the electronic belt, because my understanding is that this all is the electronic belt. And so we're looking at the lower figure from the chart of the I am presence. We're looking just at the physical plane. And so we'll start here on the left, and here's an individual standing inside his electronic belt. So the electron right here in the center is where the individual is standing. And these points in the back circle are actually behind this gentleman. These are the perverted energies of the 12 lines of the clock, often taking on animal form. And we're going to show you the clock in just a few minutes. Every thought, word, and deed, all the energy that's coming down from the I am presence and expressing out through the chakras and going out into the world, if it's misqualified with negative taint, with error, it magnetizes more of itself, comes back to you, and is stored here in this electronic belt according to the type of energy it is. And we just saw in the causal body, and we see that over here, the causal body, energy is stored according to its ray type and quality. Same thing in the electronic belt. Everything is stored very scientifically according to the quality of the energy. And they're showing here in this diagram, the solution is to invoke the violet flame. We're saying invoking the violet flame and the flame of purity, and giving the decree called round the clock protection, begins to transmute all of this darkness and cleanse it. And that purified energy actually then is raised up to the causal body and stored there. And then we see what the electronic belt can look like when it's all cleansed and purified.
It looks like an egg, a sphere of protection.
Well, they call it a kettle drum. It's like a half an egg. We're going to show you a document now, which is the words of El Morya. I'm going to read this to you. El Morya explains how the energies of the electronic belt cycle into manifestation in our lives. The daily encounters of man and woman on the streets of life are in reality the unwinding of the cycles of karma, of positive and negative forces come full circle for the reckoning of the law of being. When people encounter past hatreds and animosities and the records of violent interchange, they sometimes, on contact with another person, find themselves seized with jealousy, anger, resentment, anxiety, or any of a multitude of negative reactions. Such experiences denote that pockets of energy misused in other lifetimes are coming to the surface of consciousness from the plane of the subconscious for the restoration of balance both within and among souls. In the process, individuals must learn the art of self-mastery. They must learn to govern those energies in motion that have recorded past indulgences in patterns of imperfection. Accidents, injuries, sudden illness, a turn of events in business, in the household, or in the marriage may also denote the descent of karma that is released through the recycling of energy from the electron belt. When this occurs, it is the testing of your soul, and it is time to enter into the core of light that is the flame. Centered in the flame, you can then challenge these negative spirals in the name of your own Christ self and call to the I am presence to release the flame into action and to pass the flame through the subconscious for the transmutation of the cause and core of every negative condition. In so doing, You will be practicing the art and science of transmutation. You will be changing the frequency of energies disconnected from the source so that they may be reunited with the source. And as these energies cycle back to the source, your own soul awareness will follow. You will be releasing energy locked in imperfect patterns that it might be sealed in patterns of perfection. Each time a situation of imbalance occurs in your life, you must see it as an opportunity an opportunity in the present to right a wrong of the past. This is how you balance karma. This is how you relieve the soul of the burden of the synthetic image. Now life becomes a challenge, and you see that you are what you are, a living flame, regardless of what you think you are in those moments of encounter with the accumulations of past energy sowings. And so the law is fulfilled: whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Be then the joyous reaper, knowing full well that as you cull the energies of karma into the flame, you will reap an abundant harvest of light. For locked in those energy coils is the life that is God. And when that misqualified energy comes into contact with the flame that is in your heart, it is requalified and sent forth to bless all life with perfect love, perfect wisdom, perfect power. Transmuting the energies of the electronic belt. The entire contents of this electronic belt, the records and accumulation of man's own misqualified substance, is the karmic weight that holds him earthbound and prevents him from overcoming the pull of gravity and ascending into the light. This is the weight that puts him in the category of mortality. This is the weight that ties him to the mass consciousness. When you begin to use the violet flame, you can transmute the energies of this electronic belt. The violet flame is the light of the Holy Spirit, and using this light gives you a more than ordinary amount of energy to transmute your past. And so you begin to step up your ability to balance karma. You are no longer taking an entire embodiment to go through perhaps one layer of this electronic belt to settle your debts with individuals. The more you give the violet flame decrees and mantras, the more you invoke the flame, the more quickly you go through these layers. The purified electronic belt, the tree of life standing in the midst of the garden, described in the book of Genesis, is an allegorical representation of the individualized I am presence. In order to eat of the 12 manner of fruits thereof, man is required by law to attain the consciousness of the 12 virtues as charted on the cosmic clock. These virtues are the 12 manner of fruit of the causal body that are for the healing of the nations. The disciple may indeed clear away the debris of the human consciousness by the use of the sacred fire and replace it with the light of the 12 godly virtues, even as he prepares for his ultimate reunion with his creator. As man replaces his human creation with 12 principal godly attributes designated on the leaves of the tree, a flowering of the corresponding virtues takes place in the causal body. These virtues are also reflected in the electronic belt and in the four lower bodies, and man is seen in the image of his maker. Thus, the electronic belt reflects all that is contained in the causal body of man. That is a phenomenal instruction.
Unquestionably.
And so we'll just quickly show you the electronic belt as it is with most people, and it can be as dense as concrete and as sticky as asphalt. And here it is cleansed and purified using the sacred fire. And then, okay, you can see the video now?
Mm-hmm.
This is a visualization that is designed to show you the effect on the electronic belt when you are invoking the sacred fire. And you can see the violet flame rising up through the electronic belt there and cleansing and purifying the substance. What you're seeing now, a lot of blue flame activity in there as well. And we'll just advance through this a little bit. The sound is turned off because the invocation is not one that the new students are ready to be engaged with. And here we're starting to see now the purification process producing what El Morya was describing as the causal body reflected in the electronic belt. So you start to see the rainbow rays appearing. The next piece is the 12 lines of the cosmic clock. Now, we showed you in the first diagram the man standing in the kettle drum. And so you would use this diagram to envision yourself at the center, standing in your kettle drum, so that in front of you is the 12 o'clock line. And that is the virtue of God power. And each of the 12 lines are actually positions in the electron belt. They're physical positions. And you need to understand yourself as standing in these energies. The perfected virtues are God power, God love, God mastery, God control, God obedience, God wisdom, God harmony, God gratitude, God justice, God reality, God vision, and God victory. And the perversions of those lines are described as criticism, condemnation, and judgment, all black magic, hatred, malice, dislike, and all witchcraft, doubt, fear, human questioning, and records of death, conceit, deceit, arrogance, and ego, disobedience, stubbornness, and defiance of the law, envy, jealousy, and ignorance of the law, indecision, self-pity, self-justification, ingratitude, thoughtlessness, and spiritual blindness, injustice, frustration, and anxiety, dishonesty, intrigue, and treachery, selfishness, self-love, idolatry, resentment, revenge, and retaliation. And the four quadrants, which represent fire, air, water, and earth, which are the four planes of matter, hold malicious animal magnetism, ignorant animal magnetism. This is the etheric body, this is the mental body, this is the emotional or astral body, sympathetic and animal magnetism, and the physical body, delicious animal magnetism. These are the descriptions of the perversions of the virtues. Okay, so here we have the cosmic clock with the 12 virtues, and we see the misqualifications of those virtues. And we were talking about that you're standing in the center of the electronic belt, 12 o'clock lines in front of you, 6 is behind you, and you are physically standing in all of these energies. They're stored in coils. Your karma is stored in coils, thousands of layers deep, and they actually come up for transmutation at a specific time on a specific day based on the science of the cosmic clock. And we're going to go into that in another video where we talk about the timing of that is based on what day you were born, what time you were born, and how the karma actually cycles through the electronic belt and comes up for transmutation. And using the knowledge of that, you can apply very scientifically the violet flame to get the most advantage and benefit of knowing what karma needs to be transmuted at what time. We've gone through the electronic belt, the introduction to the cosmic clock, and I think that's enough to keep it simple.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes, my pleasure. And so we have episode 9 of the Michael and Laura show. Looking forward to bringing you the next one and wish you a phenomenal start to the new year. Any final year end messages you want to leave people with as 2020 comes to a close and 2021 comes into the frame?
Just a reminder that we're starting our beginners class January 2nd on Mixlr at 7 p.m. I'd like to thank you again for producing that tutorial video. It's up on our channel now, so people can see how to access Mixlr and become involved with the broadcast. And if anybody has questions, certainly just leave a message on our website, info@shambhala templeoflight.com, and we'll be happy to do whatever we can to help.
Fantastic. Look forward to sharing a year with each of us where we're called to step into the mastery of our own selves with tools and guides that can support you in that process. And so I feel very blessed to be walking this path with you and say namaste.
Namaste.